Hello Year 11. So first thing I want you to do for this lesson is to circle one of each of these three words. So you've got them in little threes, so you've got Galen, Hippocrates and Harvey are your first three words, and you've got the following below them. And you are going to identify which one is the odd one out and explain your choice. Have a think really carefully about this. If you are not able to access the PowerPoint that I've uploaded, so you can't kind of do it on the PowerPoint itself, you could do it on this video, so you could take a screenshot of the video, or you can just write it by hand, so you could literally write down the word that is the odd one out and then your sentence explaining it. Pause the video now to do that, please. Okay, so this lesson we're going to be looking at some of the changes that happen in medicine in the 19th century. So as you can see from this timeline, there is a whole lot that goes on over this period. And it's going to take us a few lessons to get through it all, but we're going to make a start on it today. First thing I'd like you to do is annotate the problems with surgery that you can see in this picture, and then explain how these problems would limit the work of a surgeon. So some of the things that I noticed straight away, the most obvious one is the fact that that person they're trying to operate on has not been anaesthetised or put to sleep. So there's no anaesthetics. So that makes surgery very difficult because it has to be very quick. You can also see things to do with hygiene. You can see things to do with their teaching methods. If you have a look in the back left corner of that picture, you can see people who are learning how to do this. Okay, so you want to pause the video, do those tasks now. Okay, so we'll move on. You're going to need a version of this. So you can either handwrite it, you can use this PowerPoint as it is on class charts. It's up to you how you do it, but you're going to make notes of these things as we go through the information on the next few slides. So you're thinking about the problems with managing pain during operations in 1800. And some of the ways that they managed pain were through these three things: laughing gas, ether and chloroform. By 1800, the status of surgeons had improved because of the work of men like John Hunter, but surgery was still terrifying for the patient. You can see what's happening in this image. This person is awake whilst they're doing this. So how effective were anaesthetics in 1800? So hashish, mandrake and opium, all chemicals made from plant extracts, would be used to dull the pain. Alcohol could be used to try and dull the pain as well. And many patients had religious objections to alcohol and chemicals and chose instead to sing hymns during surgery. So there's lots of problems with these things. You can pause the video here and make a note of these things. So it was difficult to judge an effective dose from a lethal dose. Alcohol makes the heart beat faster and bleeding far more difficult to control, so it actually made surgeries more dangerous. And obviously singing hymns isn't going to work during a surgery, and the patient is still going to be suffering and in pain. Before surgeons had an effective and safe anaesthetic, they had to operate quickly to spare the patient pain. They could not carry out complicated internal surgeries. Problems with surgery in the early 19th century. So the only way to reduce pain was speed. The patient was held or tied down. Again, this is stuff that we've just been talking about. The fact that they cannot perform more intricate surgeries really limits the things that surgeons can actually do and what they can fix. What I want you to do is have a watch of this video, scream the history of anaesthetics, and make notes in the table that I've given an example of below. So you want problems before anaesthetics and changes after anaesthetics. The video comes with a bit of a warning that it's a video about surgery and anaesthetics, so it's a bit gross and gruesome. You are welcome to skip bits and pause bits if there are things that you don't want to watch, but it does have some really useful information about how anaesthetics are developed and changed, so I would recommend trying to watch it if you can. Pause the video now to do that. So next thing we're going to look at is this source. How useful is source A to a historian studying surgery in the 18th century? Explain your answer using source A and your contextual knowledge. Remember to talk about the nature, so what the source is, the origin, where it comes from, and its purpose. Why was it made? Okay, that all makes up basically what you need to talk about when you're explaining how useful something is. And then you throw in a little bit of your own knowledge, a little sprinkle of your own knowledge to really show off what you know about this topic as well. I'm not going to give you too many hints on this one because I'm hoping that we will be able to share our answers to this in a live lesson this week. So, or next week. So what I would like you to do is write an answer to this. Remember, if it's 8 marks, it's 2 paragraphs. You're spending 10 minutes on it. Try and do it timed, so that you're getting some good practice of that as well. And then we will share our answers to this in the next live lesson that we have. Pause the video here to do that. So, interest in chemistry. During the 17 and 1800s, there was a lot of interest in chemistry. Scientists studied the properties of different chemicals. They found out that some chemicals could have an effect on the human body. This resulted in improved anaesthetics. So this is a massive development. Things like nitrous oxide or laughing gas is produced, and there's some information here that you could use to go back and fill in your table, so you can pause the video now to do that if you want to. This image is a really good example of some of the cartoons that were made at the time, and it shows how some people viewed this laughing gas that was produced. Ether, again, for your table, so you can pause it here to go back to it. And chloroform for your table as well. So, as with a lot of things in medicine, the path is not as easy as they discover something and people use it. There was opposition to anaesthetics. Surgeons were used to operating quickly on a conscious patient and felt this helped them know how the operation was going. If they weren't getting any feedback from the patient, then they couldn't really know how it was going. There were objections to removing the pain of childbirth, which was seen as God's will and a punishment for sin. Some patients died because surgeons didn't know how much chloroform to give. And so they gave too much. And army surgeons during the Crimean War thought that soldiers should put up with the pain. Others felt that chloroform was new and an untested gas and might have long-term side effects. So Hannah Greener is an example of someone who died during an operation because she was given the wrong dose of chloroform. So this is how your table should look now. If there's anything on here that you haven't got, pause the video and add it now. So finally, what I would like us to think about is why were anaesthetics accepted? So James Simpson promoted chloroform, using it regularly and carefully, and the big one was that in 1850 Queen Victoria had had many difficult labours, and so she used chloroform to give birth to Prince Leopold. The Queen was in no doubt when she wrote the effect was soothing, quieting and delightful beyond measure. So when we're thinking about what makes something historically significant in any topic, these are some of the questions we want to consider. Did it cause a great change? Did it have an impact at the time? Was it an improvement? Did it affect many lives? Did it have a long-term impact? Remember, significance does not always mean positive change. You also need to look for opportunities to question the significance. So the significance of anaesthetics in the short term is summed up here. I would like you to take what's here and reduce it down to just 2 bullet points. And then the significance in the long term of anaesthetics is here. And you are going to pause the video and reduce this down to 2 bullet points as well. It mentions at the bottom watching the history of anaesthetics, but you should have already watched that, so don't worry about it. So compare and contrast 19th century surgery with medieval surgery. What are two similarities that you could write paragraphs about, and what are 2 differences that you could write paragraphs about? So you're not writing a full answer to this question, you're just telling me some of the similarities and some of the differences. You can write that down now. And that's the end of the lesson. Thank you very much, guys.